Want to know why? Guess what was just filled out in the cafe just now? Your 75th welcome card. 75, because I didn't update that from last week. It was 74, and now it's 75. Hi, Kate. Kate? Guys, I'm on a roll. So you're at 75. So next week, I think we'll have Leaders High School photos. Guys, they're so good. I'm so excited. And then 5 more to 80. And I keep forgetting to update the slide, but I think we know what 80 is going to be. I think it says to be determined, but I think if you can get 80 welcome cards, I think the leaders are going to get tased. Maybe just me. Maybe just me. I've been tased. I'll get tased. I don't care. So,
why were you tased?
because I had a taser. Dumb. Why wouldn't I? All right. So anybody know what tonight is? What's tonight? Small groups. Tonight is our first small groups night here, 6:30 to 8. And let me lay out what that's going to look like for you. We're going to play some games. We're going to split into our small groups, have a discussion, get to know each other, just, bond, form relationships. Hi, Paige. So who's going to be back for small groups? Raise your hand. Nice. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm really excited to kick these off, you guys. It's going to be awesome. That's here at the church at 6:30 until 8. Flow Rider is September 16th. 7 to 9. Yeah, that's next Saturday, and that's free, you guys. Come out to Flow Rider. Who's been to Flow Rider? This is just a hand-raising service. Who's never been but has wanted to go? Come with us. It is free. And just a reminder, guys, wear what kind of swimsuit? Drawstring. Guys wear a two-piece. Okay, sure. Hi, Christian. Right? Dominic. Nice. Hi, Dominic. Who is Christian? So guys need to wear a drawstring swimsuit, and girls need to wear a one-piece. No. Because swimsuits will fall off in the waves, and nobody wants that. Truly, not one person wants that. Drawstrings, one-pieces. So that's September 16th. We're meeting at Flow Rider. That one's going to be really, really cool. I think there's no reason why we shouldn't have 50 kids there. It's going to be awesome. I think that's it. We're actually, that really is it this time. We're skipping Impossible Shot today because we have such a cool service plan for you guys, and we want to save plenty of time for that. So in the meantime, if you want to please rise and get ready to worship.
If you guys want to come up to the stage a little bit and worship with us, we're going to start with Yet Not I, but Through Christ in Me. And it's a song from Hume that really impacted a lot of us, especially on the worship team, as we're told that, oh, you guys were great, or you sound amazing, and it's really not us, it's Christ being through us and us being his vessels. So worship with us.
What gift of grace is Jesus my Redeemer? There is no more for heaven now to give. He is my joy, righteousness and freedom, my steadfast love, my deep and boundless peace. To this I hold, my hope is only Jesus, for my life is wholly bound to His. Oh, how strange and divine, I can sing all is mine, yet not I, but through Christ in me. The night is dark, but I am not forsaken. For by my side, the Savior, He will stay. I labor on in weakness and rejoicing, for in my need, His power is displayed. To this I hold, my shepherd will defend me. Through the deepest valley He will lead. Oh, the night has been won, and I shall overcome, yet not I, but through Christ in me. I dread, I know I am forgiven. The future sure, the price it has been paid. For Jesus bled and suffered for my pardon, and He was raised to overthrow the grave. To this I know, my sin has been defeated. Jesus now and ever is my King. Oh, the chains are released, I can sing, I am free, yet not I, but through Christ in me. With every breath, I long to follow Jesus, for He has said that He will bring me home. And day by day, I know He will renew me, until I stand with joy before the throne. To this I hold, my hope is only Jesus. All the glory evermore to Him.
burden too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go. I see it now, I'm laying it down, and I know that I need you. I run to the Father, and fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend, so I'll run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, 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 You saw my condition, had a plan from the start. No sign for redemption, the price for my heart. I don't have a confidence for that kind of love. I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. Run to the Father, fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend, so I'll run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, 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 in your sight, long before my first breath, running into your arms is running to life from death. I feel this rush deep in my chest. Your mercy is calling out. Just as I am, you pull me in, and I know I need you now. Run to the Father, fall into grace. Done with the hiding, reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend, so I'll run to the Father again and again and again. Father, fall into grace. Done with the hiding, reason to wait. My heart found a surgeon, soul found a friend, so I'll run to the Father again and again and again and Here I am, down on my knees again, surrendering
desperate for you. Desperate for you. I surrender. Drench my soul's mercy and grace unfold. I hunger and thirst. I hunger and thirst. Arms stretched wide, I know you hear my cry. Speak to me now. Speak to me. I surrender. I surrender. I wanna know you more. I wanna know you more. I surrender. I surrender. thank you for our time here today. Thank you that we can worship you and be in your presence with you, Lord. I thank you that we are here as a group, that we can ask questions and they will be answered. I pray that you will give everybody up here on stage the words to say and know what to answer for our questions. And Lord, I thank you for this time. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Good morning, guys. This is the order we're going in. Okay, you guys were doing something really cool today. Are you excited? So we're not doing a regular message today. We're going to do question and answer. You submitted your questions, and we're going to answer them truthfully, honestly, without abandon. Get ready. It's going to be wild. Okay. First up, Dylan, can we get our first question? First question came from, she's not even here, Juliet Matson. I'm going to shout her out because it was so funny. How are babies made? Okay, are you ready? We're going to tell you. Just kidding. She really did ask that, and I threatened her. I was like, I'm going to have your mom answer the question in service in front of everybody. So we're not really doing that one. We'll cover that one in February.
Wait, so storks don't drop them off at your house?
That's how Stevie got here. I don't know. How did Penelope get here?
She has stork bites
It
on her
was a
face
stork.
right here.
Yeah.
It was a stork.
Stevie had a stork bite too. That's what a birthmark right here is called, a stork bite. Anyway, that's so unrelated. Our first real question. How do you start reading your Bible every day? And Josh is going to take that one away for us.
Kind of like this question because they're like, don't really have to like go find and search for biblical truth to be able to answer this. I got an easy one. I got a free pass. So I want everybody to do me a favor, okay? Close your eyes for 2 seconds.
I'm bracing myself so hard.
Close your eyes for 2 seconds, ready? And then you're going to open them. And when I say open, don't open them yet, okay? I want you to look around the room and notice in your head everything that is black. And then once you're done, close your eyes, okay? Ready? Go. You have 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, close your eyes. Who can tell me something that was purple in the room?
Well, that was rude.
Nope. The lights are blue. Right there, reflecting off. It's purple. That is blue. Yeah.
I was going to say Dylan's sweatshirt, but it's pink.
All right, so the point of this, you guys, I was going to say moral of the story, but I didn't tell a story, so whatever. The point here is, though, when you look for things, that's when you find them, right? Is that not the truth? It's like if you aren't actively looking for time to read your Bible every single day, how are you going to find time to read your Bible every day? It's like when you're in the car, right, and you're like, man, I never see bugs anymore. Like the VW bugs, you know, we following? What happens right after you say that? You find, like you see them. You're like, oh crap, they're still everywhere. I'm just like not paying attention to that portion of my life, okay? So like, the reason why I say this is like, it's just like relationships. You guys, like friends or like romantic, like boyfriend, girlfriends, it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, when you are in a relationship with someone, you yourself have to find the time and the effort to be able to spend with them, right? Is that right? Or like, does it just
That is
naturally
right.
happen? Yeah, you guys, we can interact here, okay? But like, that's the point here is like, you find time for it. If you're not actively looking for it, you can. Now, I really wanted to make a really funny video about this because anytime somebody asks me this, I always have one answer for them. Every boy that's ever been at camp with me before has probably heard me answer it this way too. I went to Jordan. I was like, Jordan, we should make a really funny video about this. He turned me down. But we are gonna like have it pan. I want you guys to visualize this with me, okay? You're like in the restroom, stall doors closed, and you like pan. You see the pants down there, and then like you're over the shoulder, and you see the person scrolling through their phone, and they're looking at TikTok or Instagram or whatever. Why do you look down? Who sits on their phone while they're on the John? Boys and girls, we all do it. Yeah, if you're looking for time, you
I'll
want to
admit,
find.
I'm human.
Exactly, but like you want to find more time to read the Bible, take the 5 minutes that you sit
5
on
minutes?
the John. I don't know how long you sit there. The 2 minutes even.
You need to
Just
eat some
open up
fiber.
the Bible app on your phone, read a couple verses. Like that's all you have to do. That'll kickstart you. Are we trending? Is everybody following?
Yeah, I was just gonna add that do you guys remember I taught on social media and kept telling you guys not to use social media during my message, so I deleted my social media. Man, oh man, I found so much time to read my Bible when I deleted TikTok off my phone. Just mountains of time for my Bible. That's what I started doing. I started opening up the Bible app when I wanted to be on TikTok. It worked really well. I have since re-downloaded TikTok, but okay. So our next question, we're waiting for Jimmy because he's gonna take that one away. So we're gonna jump down 1 to. What is your favorite color? Alan, what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is purple.
You
dark
would.
Purple. Yeah. Oh really? Yeah. Oh yeah, I picked.
Okay, Josh, what's your favorite color?
I can never decide.
It's
You
blue.
know, I always think like blue looks like the best on me, but I've always loved the color red.
I always say black, but I've really been in on an orange kick lately. Orange is the new. Don't watch that show. Don't. Okay. Next up, why did God create everything? And that's such a simple, easy question that scholars have not been debating for thousands of years. So we thought we'd give it to Alan.
Thanks, Riley. Yeah. No, this is it's actually a really good question, and it's something that I kind of wondered when I first became a Christian, when I first started believing in God. It's like the why of everything. And I think the big thing about why did God create everything, and the Bible talks about it so much, is that God has this never-ending love for each and every one of us. He wants to have a relationship with us. Okay. Yeah, he wants to have a relationship with us. And that's why he created us, right? So he can share everything that he created with us so that we can actually choose him and we can have a life with him. That's the biggest reason that, God created everything in the world, is just to share his never-ending love with us and with the people that he created.
Really quick, hey Dylan, will you throw up the slide with the phone number on it? We just added it in last minute. It should be right before or after how babies are made. Okay, if you have any burning questions right now that you want to ask, you can text them to this number, and if we have time at the end, we'll answer them or maybe throw them in second service. But that's the phone number if you have any burning questions that you want. Nobody does. Nobody does. Okay. Okay, why didn't we did that? Oh, I love this one so much. Okay. Let's see the math question, because I have to read it from the slide. Why do we need to learn about math if we have Google? And not everyone becomes a mathematician. I think that meant a mathematician. And also, I don't know whose question this was. English isn't your strong suit either, bud. Was that you? Was it you, Dominic? Oh, he must have just adjusted his shirt. Was it you, Cooper? Cooper. Okay.
I agree. I think it was Matt.
Quick answer. You don't need to learn math. You do if you want a high school diploma, but other than that, you don't. That's a good point. So if you have a passion in your heart to create the next Google, listen, this is the moral of the story. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but there might be consequences. And if you don't want to learn math, that's fine. I never learned math, don't know my times tables. And the consequence of that, this is my job now. Not that fast.
Yeah, Not that fast, no.
All right.
35.
It takes me a minute. Anyway, let's move on. Anybody have any follow-up thoughts on math? Math is hard. And you don't need to learn it if you don't want to. Nobody cares. Cooper, that's your
Put
answer.
a meme up of Kevin, and he's like, I do the numbers. Do you guys watch The Office still? Or is that like,
I think it's
Yeah.
over and we're old.
yeah, when Holly starts and Dwight is hazing Holly. She's a new HR rep, you guys. And Dwight's this character in the show that's just an idiot. But anyway, he goes to Holly, and there's this guy, Kevin, okay? And he like talks kind of slow, and he's like, it's just really funny. So Dwight goes to the new person, goes, hey, that's Kevin. He's one of our accountants, and he's on a special work program where we like help people with like mental disabilities be able to hold a job. And it's funny because like just the normal way he talks. Like, so she goes over and she goes, hi, Kevin, what do you do? And he goes, I do the numbers. And that's how, so anyway.
I just love Josh giving us an entire Office episode.
It's not the entire episode.
Ah.
You want to run the entire episode?
No, it's
we can
fine.
do that.
Okay. Next up. Is there a specific rule for modesty in the Bible? All right, let me take you through a couple verses. First off, there's a passage in 1 Timothy 2, 9 through 10. And it says, I also want the women to dress modestly, with decency and propriety, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but with good deeds, appropriate for women who profess to worship God. And then in 1 Peter 3, there's a couple verses that say, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. So first things first. Why are these two passages only addressed to women? Because they were letters written to a church, and they were addressing specific issues within that church. And within that church, they must have had an issue just with the female congregants not dressing modestly. So they didn't feel the need to address men with this specific issue because they weren't dealing with that issue in this church. It's not that the Bible only cares about female modesty. 2, why does this not say anything about clothing coverage or skin coverage? Because that was not the issue they were facing. The issue they were facing was these women wearing their extravagance and wealth and like showing off with hairstyles and jewelry and fancy stuff. So first of all, what we need to confront when we talk about modesty is that different cultures have different expectations. Like girls say to me a lot, well, when we do swimming activities, the guys can be shirtless, but the girls have to wear one pieces. Why? Well, because the cultural view on men and women's bodies is different. And culture is important. Culture plays a role in what we do. Culture is meaningful in our lives. We don't follow culture. We seek to be above the reproach of culture. So when I went on a missions trip to Morocco, we were in a primarily Muslim country. So yeah, I could have just worn this, but that would have been a problem because you can see my collarbones and you can see my arms and my hair is down. And this is modest here, but it's not modest there. So to be above reproach, I would wear my hair up. I wore long sleeves. I wore high collars because I wanted to be above the reproach of their culture. So when we consider our modest dressing, we don't want to follow culture. We want to be above the reproach of culture. And second, we have to confront why we dress the way we do and why we have an issue with modesty. And I'm going to tell you, this is something I have struggled with because I'm a very rebellious spirit. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like following rules. So when people are telling me, oh, your tank top needs to be wider than an inch, or your shorts need to come down to your fingertips, that makes me mad. And I have to confront that the reason I have an issue with that is pride. That's my pride. We have to confront our pride. Why do we have issues with people trying to hold us accountable for our modesty? And why do we feel so strongly about dressing the way we dress? And anytime you try to put little nitpicky rules to modesty, like how much skin you're showing or covering, it's going to get weird and annoying. But just know that the adults in your life are trying to hold you accountable and hold you above reproach. And if you confront your pride, and if you seek to glorify God in everything you do, including your dress, and confront your motivations behind why you dress the way you dress, because like we all know, men and women alike, can have unsavory motivations when they dress. Like it's a reality of our lives and sin. If we confront those things, then we can police our own modesty from within and not have to tell each other. I hope that answered your question. Oh, and I just also wanted to add that we put standards in place as Christians to hold each other accountable. That's why when we do swimming activities, we ask you to wear certain kinds of swimsuits. And the Bible also talks about modest speech, modest behavior, and that goes all the way around. It's not just dress, it's conduct. Welcome, James. How are you? Okay. We missed your question, but we'll go back to it now. Now that Jimmy's here, this is the order we're going in. This is a tough one, and I'm really proud of you guys for being willing to ask these questions and hear the answers. What are our views on the LGBTQ, and specifically, how can we be good Christians and good friends to LGBTQ people?
Hi guys, I'm Jimmy, if you don't know me. Good to be here. Good to be here. I have a hard time with modesty too. If my shorts are too short, I have a really hard time people tell me that too. It's really weird.
You have really
Okay,
cute
so-
Daisy Dukes. It's okay.
What's that?
I like your Daisy Dukes when you wear them.
Hey, thanks, man. I do too. Roy tells me I can't wear them in the office. Okay, so that's a loaded question, right? LGBTQ, because of the culture today. I'm the guy at church that generally gets most of those questions when it comes to somebody coming here. Maybe they're a transgender, they're same-sex relationships and stuff, and so they'll usually pitch them to me on staff, and then I'm going to have a discussion at some point in some time with them. Or they just ask to meet to see where our views are. And before I do anything, the first thing I say with individuals like this is like, let me ask you guys, do you guys ever disagree with your parents? Do you guys still love your parents? What? Okay, we'll talk about that later. We have a bitter person in the room. Do you guys disagree, but you still love them, right? That's the question is not love. And it's okay to disagree. So when I'm talking to an individual, I usually say, let's just start on the platform that we can disagree and still maintain love, because that's ultimately the goal, even if we disagree. But before you hear my views, I just want you to know that that's what it is. So when it comes to the LGBTQ and to, let's say, just same-sex relationships, usually what I say, and this is where the church stands as well, is who drew the line? And so if I'm talking to an individual, I say, who drew the line? Where does that line that tells you it's okay or tells me it's wrong or anything like that? Who drew the line? It's one of three things, honestly. In every situation, it's either God, yourself, or culture. That's all you get. Who drew the line for you? And so if they're an individual of faith or have some type of where they are looking towards faith, they'll say sometimes God, right? Or they'll say, well, everything but that. But you can't play king me. You can't pick and choose in the Bible what you want to follow and what you don't. Either God drew the line, and I can still love you, you can love me, because God drew the line for me too. Do you guys struggle with stuff? Oh my gosh, man, you guys don't even talk here. You guys struggle, right? Yeah. I struggle. We all struggle. So God, in the same way, drew the line for me. Not for everyone. I mean, he drew the line for everyone. But if the person says, well, I think that being in love or having a choice, I feel like I should be a man or a woman, well, now they're changing it, right? They're not saying God drew the line. They're saying, who drew the line? Themselves. And then I'll be like, okay, well, if that's true then, if you feel like that's true, then you have to accept that and allow that for every other person you run into too. So if a person who wants to be a mass murderer, a serial killer because they actually like it, they get off on it because they feel this high and all that, then, but that's who they want to be because God didn't draw the line, then you have to allow that. Because you're saying individuals draw the line. If a person wants to go and rape someone, how can you say it's wrong if they drew the line because you get to draw the line? If it's culture, okay, because a lot of people say it's culture, then if it switches to culture, then you have the problem of all you have to do is get enough votes to get your way. And then it's never going to be consistent from culture to culture. So you move to the country that draws the line for you. And then what's happening in today's society that I would really encourage you with is that God, I feel, God drew the line. He drew it for me. He drew it for everyone. All I have to do sometimes is point it out. And we don't point it out every week in there. Are we mad if we talk about anger in the auditorium? I mean, everyone's got, right? Unforgiveness. No one's mad, right? We talk about LGBTQ. Do people get mad? Yeah, that's weird. We could talk about every other thing, but we can't talk about that. We don't talk about it every Sunday. It's okay to talk about our struggles. But the reality is what's happening in today's world is culture's trying to change the Bible rather than the Bible change culture. That's all it is. It's switching. And you guys are on the forefront of it. You're living in the middle of it. And I believe, and if you disagree with me, I am open to a conversation even with you later. But the reality is you are the future. You really are. I'm less the future because of my age. You guys are the real future. And so to understand these things and to have good reasoning, but deep love for the people is what counts. You don't have to hate people. I mean, you don't have to like get mad, point out their sins all the time. Just let God be God with them. I don't necessarily agree with it. I mean, I don't because God drew the line, but I love the people. And so those are kind of the issues and how we look at it as a church, that we feel like God drew the line, just like he did in everything else. My struggles, your struggles, everyone's struggles. Sometimes we have to point it out because of the people that come here or because of the conversations we have to have. Does that make sense? Any questions in that? You guys can ask me later, too, if you want.
I would just like to add that we have the easy job, right? As Christians, we get to just lead with love. God has the hard job. He has to say what's right from wrong. And we don't want to be affirming of wrong, but we get to just lead with love and say, man, I love you. I accept you as you are. I am broken also. I sin, and I struggle with those sins. And like, that's the easy part. And I'm so grateful every day that I don't have to be the guy that's like, oh, sorry, that was sin. Like, God takes that job from us.
He
and
does.
also, one, sin is sin. Like, the weight of sin, the implication of sin is sin. And I think we get really wrapped up about certain sins and not others. Like, we get really, like, judgmental and angry and condemning of, like, the sin of homosexuality. But, like, I am a chronic gossiper. I try so hard. Like, I'm asking everyone to hold me accountable. I try so hard not to gossip, but, like, it's in the fiber of my being and I can't avoid it. But nobody comes down on me the same way for that. And I can openly gossip in front of people, and most everyone will just be like, oh, okay, Riley's off again, spilling someone else's business. We don't come down on the same sin, or on different sins the same way. And so let's look at everybody as equal, as loved by God, as broken, just like us.
Yeah, the most important element when you're talking to someone, the hardest thing for you guys is you know people probably in those arenas. So the closer you get to those people, the more you want to justify what they do because you love those people. I mean, it's no different. When those individuals walk into my office, I know I'm going to have a hard conversation, and I don't want to. I don't, because I know I'm going to have to tell them we don't agree, but I know they're looking for an affirmation, but we don't. But I can as gently do it as possible in the most love consistently so they see where we stand in love. That is very, very difficult. It was probably about 5 months ago, let me just tell you this real quick, is I had someone send me a TikTok video. He's a friend of mine. He's like, hey, Jimmy, I just sent you a TikTok video. You're on it. I'm like, I'm not even on TikTok. How am I on that? am I on this TikTok? So I open up and look at it, and it's this guy who is trying to help this lady. He's actually the head of the Pride Center. It had 120 views in a day. And it was this guy who's over the Pride Center, who some lady called saying that neighbors across the street are shooting gay lasers at her. They're penetrating, they're hurting her. And she's called authorities, and everyone can't get anyone to do anything. So she called the gay guy's pastor, and then he says, Pastor Jimmy. I'm like, I don't know anyone in this story. How am I even in this? So then it shows a picture of me, and he's joking around. So this is a church where they wear, crystal deodorant. Huh?
Acoustic guitars on their back.
Yeah,
Everybody's walking around.
Bahama mountain downs and
Flip-flops.
all this. So he's making fun of us, too. He's actually making fun of me, too. So it's real quick. It's like a minute and a half, minute and 45 seconds. And then he sends me an email. And the real kicker is I didn't respond to the email. So that's why he's like going live with it. So I finally get it. I see this. And I'm like, oh, shoot. What am I going to do? Do you respond online? Do you blow it up? Because, there was like thousands of comments. And like, this guy needs to respond and all that. I'm like, I'm not responding to that. So what I did, went to Grave Harvest, bought 4 boxes of pastries, drove down to the Pride Center, walked in the door. Apparently, they all knew who I was. I didn't know who they were. And I'm like, I was a little nervous because I'm not sure what I'm getting into, right? But that's the risk. But I want them to know I love them. I don't want to like condemn anyone like that. There's lines, but I just want them to know. So I walk in, and the guy who walks up to me, he's in a dress, and he's like, hi, can I help you? I go, hi, I'm Pastor Jimmy. I'm here to see Jackson. And he's like, what? I'm like, is Jackson here? I brought some treats. And so they're like, give me a minute. And so then he runs upstairs. Jackson comes down. You can tell he's totally nervous to see me because he doesn't know what he's getting into. And I'm like, Jackson. I go, it's so good to meet you. I bought treats for the staff. I just wanted to apologize that I didn't respond to your email. And then it turned into incredible. He toured me around, showed me everyone, met everyone. They asked me if I wanted to be in the gay parade. I'm like, let me wait on that, But do you see there's a difference in the way we respond? That's the key. I hold my lines, but there's a different way in which you can respond and show love, and I think that's what Christ wants.
The next question is actually for you, too. It says, how do you get out of your comfort zone and talk to people?
Oh, wow. That's a personality thing a little bit, too, right? Some people are a little more shy. Sometimes, for some people, I'll tell you what people like. You guys can do this no matter how shy you are. What you can do is ask people questions. They like to talk about themselves. Everyone does, right? Most people do. So if you can find their area in which they like to talk, you can ask them questions. So it's not like witnessing to them, just like, hey, where do you go to church? Why do you go there? Tell me about it. Within those conversations, you'll find other questions that you can ask them about their faith, and then you can bring up your faith. Well, hey, this is what I feel. This is how I feel. Week before last, I had a whole group of LDS youth here because they wanted to do an interfaith experience, and so they all came in and wanted to ask me questions about faith, and it was like 25 people with 8 of their staff, and they were crying, I was crying, because it was a good moment to share with them about our faith, but tell a little bit, and they were asking about the differences, so it was very non-threatening. And so you guys can ask questions and then bring up your own faith within it. Just ask them questions. It's simple. Find good questions, and then ask them questions. Within their answers, you can ask them another question. That's how you share.
Yeah, that's a good one. Any thoughts on getting out of your comfort zone?
I was just going to say that me and Ethan, I forgot Ethan's name for a second.
Oof, he's been gone a long time.
Yeah, he's been gone for a while. We used to actually go out to the farmer's market, and we'd set up a tent, and we'd hand out water bottles, we'd make lemonade, and we'd have someone make cookies. We'd literally just give them out for free to people, like at one of the road entrances right by
That's good.
Wasatch Roasters or whatever. And literally, we'd just talk to them, and then we'd literally just be like, hey, what happens after you die? And literally, we just ask them. And it was really interesting.
I like that.
Because people
Yeah.
honestly, they would just open up about it. But I think the moral of the story here is also, I guess here's another example though. You can put yourself in situations that are probably going to be uncomfortable. For example, we went to a metal concert for a close friend of ours that we played hockey with. He's in a band. He had a concert. It was down right next to, in Salt Lake City, like right next to Fear Factory. And the crowd, like we went there, like just dressed like normal, me and Ethan. Like he was a hippie and I always wear the worship gig clothes, Jesus clothes. And it was really funny because we went there, like, and you'd kind of expect people to like not talk to you. I cannot tell you how many people came and talked to us, and like we were able to just talk about faith. Like, and they would come to us asking the questions. So like, I don't want you to think like you have to put yourself in super safe scenarios. Like, you can go to places where you may feel like it won't be the most welcoming, and just like naturally have conversations with them, like Jimmy's saying. And there's probably going to come a point where faith can get brought up, and it's just going to be a natural part of the conversation. Like, don't make that your one intention. Like, go out there and just make friends. That's all you have to do.
Also, if you're just talking about socially, how do you get out of your comfort zone and talk to people? I cannot stress enough the value of just like a really good bit. Like, why do you think I say goodbye forever? It disarms people. It works really well. Just get yourself a new bit, just a really good one, just something weird to do. It works really well.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
All right. Hey, Alan, I got another just softball question for you. In Genesis 6:6, it says that God regretted creating people. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I think
Maybe like some background on what they're talking about. in
yeah,
that
and I'm going to
passage
read
would
the
be good.
verse too. So
Okay, cool.
Genesis 6:6. If what happens in this verse is this is right before the flood of Noah, right? Of Noah, right? So there's a lot of bad things that's going on in the world at this time. There's rape. There's people worshiping false idols. Just tons of bad stuff going on, right? And in the verse it says, "The Lord regretted that He had made human beings on the earth, and His heart was deeply troubled." That can be kind of deep, right? Thinking, wow, God actually regrets creating us, creating people. And as a Christian, it can kind of for me, for a long, like when I read that, it didn't sit well with me. That, wow, God actually regrets creating me. And I don't think that that's the way that we really should look at it. I think going back to kind of what Jimmy said, it's like, have you guys ever disagreed with your parents? Have you ever disappointed your parents? And I think that's the lens that we kind of need to look through here. There's a verse in 1 Samuel. It's 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 29. And it says, He who is the God of Israel does not lie or change his mind, for he is not a human being that he should change his mind. And I really like this because it shows us that God doesn't make mistakes. It shows us that God doesn't do anything without intent and a purpose, and that includes creating us. There was no mistake with that. So I think that instead of thinking like, was this a mistake that God made, that He created us, that He now regrets creating us? I think it's important not to see it that way, and to see it as it's not God changing His mind about how He feels about creating us. More, He's really expressing sorrow for what the people of that time had done to themselves. Instead of choosing God, instead of choosing Him every day, they chose death and sin. And it's almost like the same feeling that, a parent gives to a rebellious child. If a kid is defying them and doing things that they shouldn't be doing, the parent's obviously going to be upset and disappointed. And I think that's the way that this is meant, is God is sorry for what people chose, which is sin and death, instead of choosing a relationship with Him that could be eternal and everlasting.
That's really good. That it's also in the Hebrew, because English is the word we're translating it, is regret. In the Hebrew, it is more sorrowful. And so you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, and if you actually, there's only a few versions of that verse, a few translations of that verse that actually say the word regret. The NIV does, but if you read NLT, King James Version, they don't say the word regret. They fill it, there's a few different ones that I have. Let me pull it up really quick.
Yeah, it just leans into more sorrowful.
Yeah,
That's
some
what
of
it
them
does.
say of them say the Lord was troubled. The others say that in the King James says, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on earth. So it's like He's.
Yeah, does God have emotions? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's another question that could be on here. Does God have emotions?
Yeah,
Well,
He created love.
Yeah.
He is love. He didn't create it. He is love. It's an emotion. So God can have an emotion, but regret is a stronger word, meaning he shouldn't have done that. So it should be more sorrowful. Because that's sorrowful is emotion.
Right.
Regret's a decision.
Yeah.
And that's why it is so important to study the verses that are confusing to you and like not follow the temptation of like, oh, I don't like this verse, it doesn't sit comfy, shut the Bible. Like, no, do some background, look into the context, look at the different translations, look at the roots, because every verse is in there for a reason and you can find context that makes it make sense. Yeah, same thing when it was actually Emma Kelm that asked me this question at camp. And when she said that, I was like, is that what it says? Is that in there? Like, I was like, oh, that's sad. But yeah, look into the verses that are confusing to you.
Well, and that's a big thing, just real quick. That's a huge thing with all verses in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, is a lot of times we can take these verses out of context and change the meaning of them completely. Whereas if you would have read the entire story or the background, the kind of context clues behind these verses, it means something totally different. And a lot of times we can pick one verse, read it by itself, and think, oh, well, this is what God means, when we're completely wrong and it means something else in the bigger picture. But
All right. This is by far, I think, the most difficult to answer question that's going to start some fights. What is your favorite and least favorite type of hat? So, Alan, favorite?
this
Least favorite.
Actually, if I'm going to go by like favorite, I've never owned one, but you know those hats with like the propellers on them? I always thought those were like super cool, so I'm going to go with that one. My least favorite type of hat, and I'm going to steal yours, I think, but it's a visor. They're
I don't
kinda
like
ugly.
visors.
Yeah, visors are kind of ugly. It goes on your head, I would assume.
My favorite are 5 panels, which I'm not wearing that today. Am I? No, I'm not. Yeah, it almost is. It just need a stitch right here, pretty much. But anyway, least favorite, like 5-gallon hats. Why are they necessary? Who knows?
A big, like, cowboy hat. You ever watch Bonanza?
That if you flipped it upside down, you could fill it with 5 gallons or something.
All right, I've actually put a lot of thought into this over the course of the week. And my favorite hat, when I was a kid, my grandma had this hat that was an umbrella that had like a band around it to keep her hair dry after she'd get her perm. And my least favorite type of hat, I don't like visors, but do you know what is actually my least favorite type of the hat? Those gigantic millennial going out hats. You know the big felt hats that girls wear? Just huge. They're like Utah hats. They bug me. Please don't tell your wife, because I know she has one. I've seen her wear it. I hate those hats.
Okay, my favorite, a beach hat. I like the beach hats. That's the kind of the beach vibe. And then my least favorite, and I like a beanie in the winter. Least favorite, baseball cap. Because yeah, exactly. It looks like I have a bowl on my head when I take it off. It looks like someone just put a bowl perfectly. Because this is a natural curl, okay, that I do not get my hair curled. And so it'll just flatten all around when I take it off. It looks horrible.
Jimmy,
Looks
do you
horrible.
do beach?
Huh?
You do beach?
I do beach.
I bet I can outbeat you.
Nah, no way. I used to surf. I lived in Hawaii, Outer Banks. You can try Santa Cruz.
It's beach. Wow, are you serious?
I don't think it takes a stand. I haven't seen it yet.
It's bad.
I hear it is.
Very bad.
Well, that's all for first service. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to tell you, we do have different questions for second service. We have a whole different list. We're going to live stream both services. So if you are interested, you can watch the second service online. We're going to have them posted. If you want to hear about how God was created, why is the Bible confusing, our views on premarital sex, why is Novell so hot? We will answer all of those here, second service. Thank you guys so much for coming. Love you. Goodbye forever.